this is a scam graphics card. To be precise, it was supposed to be a 1060 8GB model, and we all know that doesn't exist. So in reality today, we're going to take a look and give it a drop test. And in order to properly drop test any device, you need to drop it from assorted levels of height. And so in today's video, this is the drop test of a scam graphics card. So here's what the testing medium is going to be. I'm going to go out on a balcony, we're going to drop this sucker, and we're going to see what the damage is each time. If you wanted to ever know what happens when you drop a graphics card from like 20 feet, now's your chance. You can find out. There's also going to be people in the comments going, well, why are you wasting hardware? Oh my gosh, why are you damaging good hardware that can be put to good use and you could save? There are going to be people that are going to say that. This card fries your computer if you put it in it. I've lost computers, parts, and stuff from it. So this is not safe to have in a computer already. Now, since this came in a literal plastic bag, I can't argue about, or at least it's been a couple months and I've thought about it, and I really can't argue since the video that I made that this isn't necessarily 100% designed to fry your computer. More or less, it might have gotten some damage along the way in the shipping, or it might have just gotten wet, dipped in something conductive, something shorting somewhere. It's really hard to tell, but for the most part, this card has seen its last laugh with me and is getting the drop test. So, what happens to a fake scam graphics card when you give it a drop test? Let's find out. So, for your normal circumstance, you're just building your computer. You got it up here, you know, just putting it in the graphics card. Oh man, just sliding it in. Oh, what a surprise. I mean, it's already looking as bent as it came in the mail, so you never know. I mean, we can drop a little bit more. I probably don't want to tear up my table too much. Oh man, dude, we're looking pretty snazzy already. I'm gonna be interested to see what happens when we drop it from 15 feet. But yeah, so it just gets a little PCIe slot bend, and that's about it. Oh, not PCIe slot, expansion slot. Just get a little bend there, and you know, oh well, let's move it up a little bit. Just to point out a couple things, looks like we've got some stuff that's getting bent back here, obviously where it's hitting the ground on this side. Obviously we have some, looks like transistors on the back that are also pretty beat up. So yeah. And then also some of the, looks like stuff for the VRMs. Back of the VRMs are also a little bit getting nicked up. So that's been some of the things I noticed, but nothing really any different out of the ordinary. Now it's time, instead of doing the flat drop test from like right here and letting it hit the ground, let's go through and do it from here, right on the PCB. That way it falls and gets full contact with the edge. Now obviously at this point I'd say, yeah, the graphics card probably will still turn on if it, of course, would not fry my computer. And so this obviously looks like nothing has gotten damaged off on the back here except these little transistors, which I still would be willing to bet that they turn on. But if you had like a longer graphics card and you wanted to, you know, I don't know, you've got a lot of components back here of like the newer cards, 2080 Ti's and stuff, that's obviously going to have a lot more damage. This is an old card that's got a new PCB and stuff, so there's not really much on the back here. So next up, we dropped it from about 3 feet off this angle, hits the ground, and does a pretty good job on the corner. Definitely got some GPU sag here as well. A couple things to point out though is if this was your graphics card and you were building your computer and you decided to build it on concrete and drop it from 3 feet, which is pretty higher than I think anyone would, you've still got some good chances of this card working. Obviously nothing's hopped off or fallen off. It looks like you got a little bit of damage on the PCB. Also, modern cards have back plates and they have coolers themselves. This cooler doesn't really have any protection on that corner, but for example, if you were to drop it like this and you had a back plate, the cooler should stop a little bit more of that force. So far, dropping it, at least from that spot, does not look like it's the end of the world. So now it's time from above head height to drop on that. So we've had our first piece of our component come off, which it looks like it's one of the transistors for one of the RAM modules. Basically, there's a chance that this is just a useless grounding transistor, not really, that's not a real thing, but just a useless component or maybe redundancy. But chances are, like I have a case where a 1080 actually is missing a couple of the RAM or the transistors for the RAM modules, and it works fine. No issues I can tell whatsoever. This though, I would have to turn it on and test it. As I said, I can't, and I'm not going to try. So at this point, I'd say we're starting to get some irreparable damage. Obviously, at any point something can pop off, but I know that you all are here also to see this. So other things I notice is that on the back here, something's really getting the brunt of force back here. It looks like a rather large, it looks like a VRM. A VRM is actually getting pretty badly busted up. So, continuing on though, you can definitely see some damage on some other transistors across the entire board. The VRM on the back is getting pretty beat up. Yeah, you can just look around. Anything that's on the edges, especially the two transistors on the back, are really getting it. So, now that we've done our head height and we've dropped it from the two different angles, let's go through and drop it up to, you know, since we're going to say half my height is 3 feet, let's drop it from 9 feet or 3 meters. So we have a few parts that have come off. That VRM on the back looks pretty busted now. At this point, I would officially say you probably are not going to get your graphics card to turn on. And if you did, it's probably a fire hazard at this point. That VRM is pretty busted and definitely don't recommend it. So now let's show you what this looks like. Also, in case you can't tell, we lost a fan, which I find it funny because it hit like this. Yet we lost a fan on the back. It's like maybe just the stress of it all together just popped it right off. The cooler itself, now it's also probably not salvageable. I mean, if you really want this cooler, you're welcome to it. But no, looks like the VRM on the back of the GPU is pretty toasted. So at this point, I'd say we're starting to get to a situation where this graphics card has already lost a couple transistors now, and definitely starting to take a lot of damage on the back here. If you were to able to somehow solder this back on, it looks like some of these, or at least you could if you had the maybe similar transistor, but I still think that VRM is pretty much toasted, so you're not going to get any. I don't even know, I think that's a VRM because I'm pretty sure that's some type of power delivery, at least for something, that's toasted on the back of the CPU or GPU. So yeah, and then also some of these RAM modules, or not RAM modules, VRAM modules have already started to crack as well. And that's really not good, especially because you have a lot of like blunt trauma to the back of these as well. So since you've got some cracks, I'd be willing to say you're probably not going to also get those VRAM modules working. And this card so far, we're about 90% this card wouldn't work. So at this point, you're probably getting a little bored of just watching me break one thing at a time. So I'm going to do this now in sets of 3, and then we'll go through and look at all the damage after the sets of 3. I'm going to give it probably going to more focus on side drops, so we can get a little bit more stuff on here, because it looks like just dropping it from the side is really just going to mess with the bracket and not really do much back here. So let's give it a shot. Yeah, this VRM is, yeah, pretty cooked. Oh yeah. So at this point, you're probably just getting as bored as I am because nothing's really happening. This card just keeps hitting the ground. Looks like you have some, oh, looks like the BIOS chip is a little damaged there as well. Yeah, this is not turning on. Looks like the PCI, or the expansion slot holder, is also a little damaged, but besides that, nothing's really happening. So let's go through and do this a little bit more difficult. So I think next up, after we I'm going to start throwing this at the ground as well to give it a little bit more force. And then I think next up, we're going to remove the cooler itself. Obviously that adds a little bit more force, but then again, you don't have the car or the cooler itself reinforcing everything.
I'm so ashamed, this is my destiny. Crazy me, what do I not see? That you are living poison in my veins. Put the needle in me so that I feel free. I let loose, give you the key. Pray that you'll be dead to me.
There you have it, folks. At the end, I got a little carried away. So that would answer your question of what a final graphics card looks like when it's probably been dropped and stepped on. And take a fat bet though, the sucker probably not turning on. This is going to recycling though. But yeah, that sucker's not turning on. Sorry.